What is going on, Panther Lair? We are back talking about the Pittsburgh Panthers' home victory over the Syracuse Orange this past Tuesday night. Now, I talked a little bit in the prior videos about why I think Pitt got off to a slow start on the offensive end. I want to talk about why Syracuse got off to a better start, particularly from beyond the arc. So we're going to look at some situations here. It pretty much just comes down to ball screen hedges. I think that's why Syracuse was able to get some early good looks, and then after that, they just saw the ball go through the net, and then just became contagious, and they started making a lot more contested ones. But looking at this first ball screen hedge, score 0-0. The main problem here is that the hedge does not turn the ball handler the other way, which is like the absolute goal of the hedge, to impede this ball handler, to not allow him to just turn the corner, but he does. Jalen Lowe starts to position himself as a low man to tag a rolling Eddie Lampkin, and because of that, this ball handler is going to have no problem understanding that if Jalen Lowe is here, then that means that his man and his assignment is going to be wide open in the weak side corner, and that happens to be Syracuse's most prolific scorer in J.J. Starling. And even though this ends up being contested at the end, like Starling had been looking at this rim for quite some time. Also has a size advantage over Lowe and makes the first points of the game. Similar situation here. This does not deter the ball handler in any way. Also good on them because they kind of went a little bit early, so it didn't really allow Conti to hedge too much here. But I think he needs to kind of commit to this more, and he ends up just being in no man's land. And because of that, here you see Brandon Cummings, low man, off of Chris Bell. Not ideal. He made 7 triples in the game, this being his first. So this is an example of a good hedge in a sense, but also it is not the same situation, right? So Bell's not quite in the corner. Also, Zach Austin ends up being in the paint just because of where his man is, and he ends up tagging the roller and then just recovers to the one pass away guy. So this works in a sense as one, the hedge is more effective. I mean, now we have the ball handler like way out past the logo, and because of this, even when he finds the one pass away guy, the roller is no longer possible, and like Austin closing out at you is like the worst scenario for anybody on the opposing team, so it works out much better in that way. And you'll see again here in the second half a similar situation. So here comes that hedge. Much better, turns him away as you see. The roll's not as effective, but because of the way Syracuse is aligned, Austin again ends up being the guy tagging here, and that's not what you want, with Cummings like by default here ends up splitting sort of. And then as Austin recovers out here, because this ends up not being like the most crisp pass, then there's just nothing gained. And then Jalen Lowe ends up making a nice play here at the point of attack, stripping Starling and then going and getting a layup on the other end. So some of that in terms of like the good versus bad, a little bit of that is alignment, but the hedges are more effective. I mean, Guillermo Diaz-Graham did a much better job hedging, and because of that, in turning the ball handler away, there's just not as much time that the defense has to be like really stressed playing 3-on-4 more or less. So taking a look at 2 more hedges that were not ideal. They're going to involve Corrin here again. So turns him away a little bit more, but the one pass away being here, this just ends up being like kind of a nice play by Syracuse. There's no one on the weak side here, and as this ball shifts, both Guillermo and Zach Austin have to kind of shift back to their assignments a little bit more, and it just opens a clear passing lane. You can see 13 here just like clearly calling this out. But I mean, that just goes to show the importance of pressuring the ball handle a little bit more. This ends up being a foul on Corrin. Another instance here, we're going to watch not a great hedge. So again, this one really doesn't do anything. Turns the quarter pretty much immediately. Because of that, puts Corrin in a situation where he's like late to this, and then him and Leggett end up having to, or Leggett has to commit a foul there. So again, I think a lot of why Pitt has struggled defensively, I don't think their ball screen hedges are very good. At least Corrin's aren't. They're not like super disciplined. These videos aren't designed to be a pick-on session for Corrin either. It just so happens these are the sequences here, and they didn't really work out that well for Pitt. And he was the one hedging when that was the case. So it's just, I don't know, drop's not really great either, but I mean, it's just the importance of, if you're going to hedge, you have got to deter the ball handler from turning the corner quickly to either find the one pass away guy or to be able to find like where the help's coming from to tag on the roller. So something that can easily be fixed, but it's one of the things that's been plaguing Pitt for probably the whole season. I think their hedging of ball screens is probably the worst of the 3 ball screen defenses that you can possibly run.